Hey, today I want to talk to the empaths out there, or people wondering if they are an empath. First, a disclaimer, I want to make sure that you are seeing this little floating head behind here. It's a Halloween decoration. I'm a huge fan, and it's just a little in camera, and that's part of me being real and not perfect, which is really what I love helping people with. Knowing who they are, loving themselves, finding their voice, passion, and self-worth. Let's heal your heart so the pain from your past stops limiting your future. And one way to do that is to identify what your gifts are or how your spiritual mind and body work together. An empath is a person who feels the emotional needs, wants, and desires of other people, places, and things. So today what I'm going to do is help you discover if you're an empath by sharing a little quiz I have. Okay, so you may be an empath if, number one, you feel other people's pain. What does that mean? It can mean a couple of things, actually. It's a little subtle here, but one way to evaluate if you're an empath is, have you ever walked into a room after someone had a fight or an argument, and you walk in and you feel uncomfortable and you're like, ugh, and either you choose to leave, or some empaths are people pleasers and they will try to go in and fix the problem? So that is having an ability to also read the room, right? A lot of men show their empathic abilities by being able to read the room when they walk in. Women, we're told that we have women's intuition, but that is also being an empath. You are probably an empath if you get really strong first impressions of people. How this works for me is I know energetically people who will probably vibe with me and those who won't. Narcissists are a whole other thing, and they fool even me. It's really tricky with them because of their charmingness and how they pour attention in you. But let's just talk about normal people. When you walk into a space, you know who you'll probably get along with or who are not your people, and either create space or not. You're also probably an empath if you can't really watch the news, especially right now, because of the types of stories and horrors and sad and depressing things that it shares. You also probably have an inkling of the propaganda in it, or how they want you to think, the manipulation of how stories are presented a lot of times in the news. So if you don't want to learn about people unaliving each other and any sort of other brutality, the news can be quite impossible to watch if you're an empath because it overwhelms you. Leapfrogging on that is, can you watch violence in shows and movies? Personally, I have to fast forward all of that. I don't like how it makes me feel. I know it's fake. I know they're all laughing and joking. I was a film and TV producer for 18 years. I've been on sets. I know how fake it is. But when they display it and edit it and make it look real, that is nothing that I can handle. Same in documentaries, when they're really showing what is happening. It just overwhelms me and is quite impossible. And that is because I'm an empath. Are you? Let's keep going. Many empaths are people pleasers. So empaths can't help but try to help people even when they're exhausted, even when they know that they need to rest, even when they know they should say no to others because they don't have the physical, mental, emotional capacity to help anymore. They'll do it because they feel the suffering of the other person. When I talk about boundaries in a few videos, I'll help empaths who have a hard time saying no by giving you steps and tools on how to do it and managing that guilt that you have the first few times that you practice having a boundary. Ooh. This is a good one for empaths too. You sense others' emotional state of mind and feel it in your body. So you might feel that someone is sad and you might get an ache or a pain somewhere, maybe in your neck, in your gut, in your low back. Those are pretty common places where empaths will carry other people's weight. You might notice your shoulders being hunched, or you get an upset stomach and you don't know why. It's because you are taking the physical and emotional load of another person. One of my favorite things. Empaths know when other people are lying. It doesn't mean that you call them out on the lie, but you glean that information. You're like, this person is dishonest. And then you know not to trust them. And I want you to trust your gut that way. It can take some time to evaluate people. Maybe you're not the empath who can walk in and immediately judge a person. But I want you to take the time to see if their actions and words and emotions are in alignment. And if they're not, and if that is not safe for you, that you don't have to be there. That will go with boundaries again. So one of the hardest things that empaths try to do that often don't, it connects the dots on some of these other things and abilities, is they have a really hard time saying no. I think so many people forget that we first heard no when we were little, and it was used to protect us. Don't touch a hot stove. No, don't do that. No, don't put the crayon up your nose. No, don't run with scissors. Your parents or guardians or whoever was there trying to protect you from harming yourself. But what happens as you got older, you started hearing no as a denial. You don't understand me. You won't let me. You are making me smaller or holding me back. And then you don't want to do that to someone else. You don't want to deny them or hold them back. Also, you probably, as an empath, really like being helpful because you want to ease another person's pain. And that is amazing. And I'm not telling you not to be a good friend. But there is a rhythm to how much you give and how much you recharge yourself. And when you say no to others, you're saying yes to you. And you also can decide and figure out when you take a step back and evaluate the truth of the need besides the emotional pull, if that person's just asking you for help because you always say yes. And then they're kind of using you. Or they're an energy vampire and they want your energy, they want your empathy, they want your time, but they don't really give you any in return. Something to think about. Along that vein, empaths have a very hard time walking away from a person in need. This is hard. Like I want to help people, but I've gotten to a point in my life where most of the time, sometimes I know I can't. And sometimes all I can do is let them know that I love them and that I'm here for them and that when they're ready to talk or need to do something, I can be that person as much as I can, right? Because I still have to know when I'm tired. I still have to manage my own life and the people that I love in my family. This is a really good one for younger people. I mostly see it with younger people, like in their 30s and younger is what I mean. You attract and befriend, you attract and make friends with broken people. I want you to think about this if you're an empath. Do you try to help everyone and so you bring people into your life that there's always some drama going on? I used to have a friend and they were super creative and talented and they couldn't see it. And I really wanted to support them through them just learning to see who they are. And I didn't care if part of their life was always a hot mess. I didn't really judge it. I didn't get myself entangled in it, but I would listen and not take it on so much. But ultimately that person took my content and then shared it as their own, even word for word sessions that I had with them in their healing. And they then branded it as their own and blocked me as if I wouldn't find out because, I know these things. So I was like, see, you have a broken person, and broken people, because they're hurt, will hurt people. right? So everyone has their journey. I was a hot mess when I was younger. I dealt with a lot of trauma. I went through a lot of loss and grief, but you can heal it and move on and move forward. I mean, like, that is the whole journey that we're here for, right? Love, growth, exploration. A lot more love than hate. That will always be my message. Anyway, empaths will bring on broken people into their life, because if you're used to people pleasing and you're used to taking care of people, broken people will always have your nervous system going, and you're going to recreate the trauma that made you become an empath in the first place. And ultimately, empaths always feel suffering in the world. And there's so much suffering right now. There's brutality and fear, and that's low vibration. And I am here, and I hope if you found my channel that you are here to be a light in the world, that you're present in wherever you live and wherever you work and whatever you do, and in your friendships. Even when you create boundaries as an empath, is to be a light in the world, because a single match can light up a darkened room. So why are you an empath? Well, that's probably a really good question for a session, but I forget the name of the woman. Her reel was really popular for a while. But really, empaths, I think, developed their abilities because they were in a high trauma for a long time. Like, they either grew up with it, and so they had to read the room. They had to be hyper aware. And then they learned to please, soothe, and make things better for the person creating that trauma. So then our sensory is just out there. How about this? How about I give you one tip today on how to protect yourself as an empath. And then I'll do another video about more ways to do it. A simple way to protect your energy and see if what you're feeling is yours or someone else's is give your energy a color. Like today, let's just say that my energetic aura is emerald green. It's all heart energy. And that's all around me. If suddenly I feel fear or panic, I'm going to give that feeling, that emotional trigger, a color. And if it's red, I'll know it's not mine. If it's brown, I'll know it's not mine. And then I can see it and acknowledge it, but then send it out, because it isn't mine to process. A really hard thing for empaths to adjust to is, just because you feel it, it doesn't mean it's yours to heal. Think about that. Hey, and if you're an empath and any of these ways to define that you're an empath speak to you, like, leave it in the comments, hit like, please. Let me know what kind of empath you identify as. Like, you can't watch the news, or you're a people pleaser, you don't want to say no, or you're always busy helping people. And stay tuned, because there are also like 15 kinds of empaths, and I will share that next.